my first victim. Good evening and welcome to the February 21st meeting for the West Sacramento Planning Commission. As always, we always start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask our outgoing chair, Mr. Sternfeld, to lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tonight's agenda is available over on the side counter along with request to speak. If you'd like to speak on an item on the agenda, please fill out the form and hand it to the clerk prior to the completion of the staff report for that item. If you'd like to report or speak on an item that is not on the agenda, also please give it to the clerk and we will take that up at the beginning of the agenda. Just a reminder that tonight's meeting is televised and some people may have some anxiety about speaking in public, so please no signs of applause or boos, any such things. If you do approach the counter or the podium, please start with the introduction of your name. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes in the interest of fairness, except for the applicants who are giving a presentation. So, the first item on the agenda tonight is swearing in of new planning commissioner members. I'd like to, yes, introduce Ms.
Good evening. Teresita, if you could just please stand with me and repeat after me.
Turn my mic on.
Yes, please. I, and please state your name,
I, Teresita Sablon,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. We are just getting seated for the year, so that's what that's about. So first item on the agenda, or next item on the agenda, is presentations by publics on matters not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the commission at this time. I have no request to speak. Looking at Katie, seeing nothing coming my way, so we'll move on to correspondence and staff communications from the Planning Commissioner Secretary, Mr. Tilley.
Yes, I just have 2 items to note for you briefly. At last night's City Council meeting, the Council conducted second reading on Ordinance 19-1, which approved the new zoning code, also known as ZOMP, that we had through the Planning Commission at several meetings last year. So we actually are already going to be implementing the new zoning code, actually starting today. Even though the ordinance is not effective, the way we set it up was people, if they chose to, could go by the new zoning code now until the effective date, and then once the effective date comes, then only the new code going forward. So that was a big achievement, and we appreciate the work involved, everyone on that, especially all the times we were here with the Planning Commission. Secondly, just this a little bit down the road, but I have come to learn that the annual State of City event will be on what otherwise would be a regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting. So please don't fear if you wish to attend the State of the City meeting. We will all but certainly cancel our regular Planning Commission meeting that night. So that anyone may attend that event, and also it just would be impractical to have our meeting while that's going on downstairs. So that is May 2nd, I believe, or May 3rd, what would be our normal meeting night tonight. So if invitations and things are already probably going out on that event, please don't fret. We won't have Planning Commission that night. So that concludes staff communications at this time.
All right, thank you, David. Next on the agenda is disclosure of ex parte communications. Planning commissioners must disclose any communications they've had on the agenda items at this time. I'm going to look to my right first,
None to report.
Nothing to report.
to my left.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
All right, thank you so much. Next item is the consent agenda. Per request, I'm going to pull the one item off of the consent agenda for discussion. Anybody have any comments on, on the approval of the minutes? Andrew, let's start with you.
Oh, thank you. For entry number 4, I had recused myself, so I did not vote. Yes. I didn't vote because I wasn't here.
Right.
And for item number 5, I did leave the meeting early because I was not feeling well. It does show me as voting as well. So unless there's additional changes, I'd like to move that we approve the minutes subject to the requested changes by Ms. Berliner and I to reflect our appropriate voting status.
Any other changes to the minutes?
Second?
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none? Katie, you got all those okay? All right, thank you so much. Next item is on the regular agenda, number 2, public hearing regarding proposed development agreement and conditional use permit for wholesale cannabis distribution at 2545 Boatman Avenue. Ms. Allen.
Good evening, Vice Chair Liebig and members of the commission. The item before you is a conditional use permit application and development agreement for cannabis distribution located at 2545 Boatman. The project is proposed to be in an approximately 10,500 square foot standalone building. The project shares reciprocal access with adjoining buildings located to the east and south, and no customers will visit the facility and no signage will be on the building, as has been the case with all our other cannabis applications. Staff from both police and fire reviewed the plans for the project and also toured the facility. The applicant has worked very closely with staff from PD on their security plan, and the safety and security plan would be approved in its finality prior to operation of the facility. The project's located in our light industrial area. There have been other cannabis applications approved in close proximity in the area around the port. Some uses that are in close proximity to this particular facility include general contractors, engineering firms, various warehouse and distribution operations. There's also a handful of retail operations such as Bike Dog, Chondo's, and the Spotlight Ballroom facility in close proximity. The applicant actually went and met personally with as many of the local businesses as he could to introduce themselves and just explain what they were doing, and got a very positive response from local businesses to their proposal. I do want to note one correction in the staff report. It was pointed out by an eagle-eyed commissioner that there's a discrepancy in the DA and the staff report in terms of gross receipts. The staff report says 5%, the DA says 2.5%. 2.5% is the actual correct number for this type of application.
Okay.
And that concludes my presentation. The applicant is in the audience, happy to answer any questions for you, as are David and myself. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Kathy. And just to be clear, there is no applicant presentation, but they're available for questions.
I'm not sure, do you have a presentation? No.
Okay, I see nodding heads as yes. Okay, move on to, before I open the public hearing, move on to questions for staff. And we will have a couple rounds, so just questions for staff before I open the public hearing.
I do.
Okay, Mr. Sternfeld.
So the staff report suggests that there's the applicant seeking approval for a use permit for just wholesale cannabis distribution. However, the statement of justification from the applicant suggests the conditional use permit application includes distribution, manufacturing, transportation, packaging. Am I just reading what they're writing wrong, or are they asking for different things?
Over time, their projects evolved a little bit. It has ended up that they are just asking for distribution.
So no manufacturing.
No.
Great. Thank you.
I'm sorry, does that need to be modified in the development agreement?
The development agreement is only for distribution.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Just for formalities. Are there any questions for the applicant? Actually, we'll just, any questions for the applicant while it's open? Bernadette?
Yeah, thank you. So two things that I look at when we're considering these cannabis use permit requests or applications for a use permit. I'm very interested in learning more about the team's background, particularly kind of the diverse professional backgrounds that you might have. I didn't find enough information. I'd like to hear just a little bit more about that. And the other thing that I look at is the location and what implications there might be for the surrounding uses. And the report from staff has addressed any questions or concerns that I might have. So if you could introduce yourself, that would be great, and then talk a little bit about your management team and why you believe that you're qualified to be managing this particular operation. Oh, one moment. If you could push the button at the base of that, so look at your microphone, and at the base, there's a little small button.
Hello,
Perfect.
test,
Thank
test.
you. Sorry about that.
It's okay, thank you, allowing us to be here. My name is Lira Han. I am the CEO of Bravo Distribution. To give you a little bit of a bio about myself, I spent 10 years in alcohol distribution for one of the larger major distribution companies in California. I've helped 5 different distribution companies get started up. The last 7 years, I've been in the cannabis space, being a cultivator, manufacturer, retail storefront, and also distribution. The team consists, that is here, there's a few of us, but only a handful of them are here. Starting off with my business partner, Wes Miyake. He's the CEO of Via Merch, which specializes in brand marketing and distribution for 50-plus musical artists across the genre. Assisting in brand awareness for many of his companies, Wes has also worked with Emerald Cup and California Roots Music and Art Festival. Wes hopes to bring his merchandising and music entertainment industry to implement into the cannabis industry. The next business partner that we have is Brian Clay. Brian Clay is a retired 30-year vet in executive law enforcement, holding positions through his career as an officer, chief duty administrator with California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation in the Parolee Operations Division. Mr. Clay has retired as the Northern Regional Parole Administrator, Chief Career Executive Appointment CEA, responsible for 52 of the 58 counties, over 2,000 employees, and overseeing 30,000 parolees with a budget exceeding $200 million. Mr. Clay graduated from Fresno State University and brings executive leadership from Cornell. Brian has written numerous articles regarding business, personnel, security, sports and entertainment security, leadership and motivational instructions and training as well. My other business partner, Michael Harvey. Michael Harvey has spent 25 years of his career with 2 of the largest alcohol distribution companies, Southern and Young's Market. He left there as the Senior Vice President of Operations, managing the back of the house office, 2 of the largest distributions in the United States, like I said, Southern and Young's. Personally, he has been involved with 4 CUP presentations with the city of West Sac that are operational, or at least 3 of them are still operational. One with Southern Wine and Spirits, and the other with Young's Market, And then the very first last one that he had was with River RVR, which is the very first cannabis distribution company here in West Sac.
Great, thank you for that. And then just a couple follow-up questions. First follow-up question is about, are you going to be and I apologize if I missed this, but are you going to be managing your own, like, distribution as far as managing the vehicles? Will you be contracting out with another company to do the deliveries? 'Cause
That will be managed by us.
okay,
That's going to allow us to be able to have the product secured properly, delivered properly, track and trace properly. So the less hands that are involved, the less issues we'll have down the road.
okay, great, thanks. And then the last question that I have is around kind of the financial backing for this particular endeavor. So something I don't want is high turnover of any industry in our community. This is a newer industry, and so I am curious if you could speak to, you don't have to get into too much detail, but if you could speak to kind of, your, why you feel like you are able to financially, as an organization, undertake this endeavor.
We were recently acquired by a company called High Hampton, which is a publicly traded company, and they wanted to ensure that we moved forward with this project with West Sac and not have any hiccups down the road.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we're well-funded.
Great, thank you. That's it for my questions.
Any questions of the applicant this way? I have one question that, Mr. Vu.
Thank you. So when you said you were recently bought over by this other company, was that when the name changed from Flow to, okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, great. And the conditional use permit is only for distribution. Why just distribution? Because we've seen other companies, that want to open here and have opened here, do more than that. And do you have plans in the future to expand?
To expand distribution-wise, yes. Only distribution because that's our expertise and that's what we know and that's what we're knowledgeable with. Yes, we understand the other aspects of the industry, but we want to stay in our lane and do distribution well where the state and the city wants to partner up with us.
Okay. Just one question, and thank you for for being here tonight. I didn't see in the report, and it could be my fault, about how many truck trips are we looking at per day, per week? I just want a general sense of the volume of trucks. I mean, this is a distribution facility, and there are some other uses in the area.
I want to say that's going to be predicated on how much sales goes on at a certain level. Let's say an average, when we first start off, there's only going to be 1 or 2 trucks going in and out of the facility.
Daily?
Daily,
Daily.
and we're going to have that on a time schedule, time stamped. Everybody's going to know who's coming in and out prior to the truck even showing up. We'll have a manifest ready to go the night before.
Okay. Any other questions before I close the public hearing? Going once, going twice? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for deliberation and any follow-up questions to staff. As people are kind of looking around, I've got one follow-up question. Kelly, I'm sorry, Miss Allen. That was a combination there. Is there a limit on how many trucks can service this use? I believe there's a limit given the zoning, but I can't remember what it is.
Really, no.
Okay. That was a very broad answer.
No, it's actually very specific.
Very specific. That's not the answer I was expecting. So, okay, thank you. Any other questions of staff or comments? I'm going to start on my right, Ms. Austin.
Yeah, just a general comment. We've, as you can imagine, have received a lot of conditional use permits for cannabis, particularly for the uses that have been approved by the city of West Sacramento. I'm really comfortable with the proposal. I think this would be a good addition to our community, so thank you very much for choosing West Sacramento. To staff, particularly because we've been at this for some time and because we have quite a few new commissioners, I think it'd be really great if we could get a report back with as much information as you are able to provide us in a public setting about how are things going so far. I would love to get a snapshot of generally where they're located. I don't think it would be actually a prudent thing to put all of them on a map, but maybe giving us a general sense of, what neighborhoods these are generally located in. I'm hoping that they're mostly in some of the, industrial areas that are pretty far away from residential and schools. I'd love to hear about how the development agreement is going. Again, a general report back would be great. A dollar amount would be even better, but as much as the city staff feel comfortable sharing. And also the use permits, but who has actually advanced? Because it's my understanding that this use permit and development agreement are they're predicated on each other and also predicated on approvals from the state of whatever it is, it's a license or something. So I'd love to hear how things are progressing with the things that we've approved so far at the Planning Commission. But with that, I'm comfortable with staff recommendation.
Mr. Vu, any comments?
Yeah, just briefly. I would second Ms. Austin's comments about having a report about what the snapshot of how things are right now. I'm definitely supportive of the proposal. And thank you for bringing your business to West Sacramento.
Mr. Vu, any comments to my left? Mr. Sternfels?
Well, question/comment. Sorry, I didn't ask questions earlier when you asked us to, but.
Quite all right.
It's for city staff, conditions of approval, we've been through several of these now. I'm assuming, is there any substantial changes from previous conditions we've applied to applicants? As I ask because as I look through them, I wonder if some of them are no longer necessary given changes in state law, like number 7, distribution of cannabis outside state California. I don't know if we've taken a look at that recently. I'm just wondering if we've iterated on it over time and if there's anything different from these conditions from previous projects before us.
These are very comparable to what you have seen previously. We have tried to, maintain the current standards. This industry has already evolved tremendously in the little over 2 years since Proposition 64 passed and went into effect. And the state licensure process has evolved rapidly as well. But generally speaking, we believe these conditions remain appropriate for this type of use. And that a lot of what's really critical on this is really also in the development agreement, such as the safety and security plan, the mechanical ventilation stuff, and some of those other key provisions in the development agreement, which are also very consistent with the previous approvals we've granted to similar businesses.
And then one follow-up question. Under the standard conditions, number 17, there's a 2-year expiration from our approval, or is that council's approval on the DA?
These conditions are only for the use permit.
Okay, so that'd be us.
Yeah, so that's a standard condition. We give, 2 years to get going on it. But in this case, if the development agreement is ultimately approved by the council, then the use permit would run with the development agreement.
So I'm just thinking timeline, and this is in respect to previously approved projects. We're probably running closer over the 2-year limit on other projects.
You're all right. For the ones that haven't gotten operational yet, we may be getting close. So that's something we should go back and look at all the other ones that haven't become operational yet, because they're all in different stages. Right now, there's only a few that have actually become operational. So that is a good point. We will go back and look at all of those and see where we're at on the 2 years, because some of them probably are getting close.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that if we can maybe make an informational item in the future. In terms of the project, I have no concerns. So thank the applicant and the team for choosing West Sacramento. That said, I do want us to continue, because we do this every time, to think about long-term implications of continuing to approve these projects. Also because, interestingly, the ones that have gotten off the ground are really backed by very large companies that are very well funded, at least from what I've been able to tell from the projects that are actually up and running at this point. And down the road, I kind of wonder what that's going to lead to from policy pressures to make changes or growth strategies. And I feel like we need to continue to think about long-term, where does this lead, and what other changes are we are we seeing on the forefront that maybe we should start talking about now, particularly when we're talking about in-home delivery of this product and what that means? That said, I mean, you guys have done everything you're supposed to. I appreciate you being here. I'm happy to support the project, but I think for the commission's perspective, as several of us have become more comfortable with these over time, in the same token, I think we need to continue to pay close attention to what's actually getting up and running and how is it doing and how is it growing and expanding. And I would be concerned if there was manufacturing or other components of this project at this point. So I appreciate the clarification on that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the reminder. I think we've heard some of these comments before, so it's good to keep them at the front. So, Ms. Berliner, do you have any comments? Commissioner Sablon? No comments. You know, I'm in favor of the project as well, so you can probably do the math on your fingers. I did have one comment regarding, again, the approval of these in general, and Andrew brought this up, was in-home delivery sales. We have that going on in West Sacramento. The sales are not coming from West Sacramento, they're coming from outside of the city. They're being delivered to our residents in West Sacramento, and they're even advertising within West Sacramento. And so I know that's, it's been contemplated before, but just wondering if there are any applications in on that, and whether or not we'll be seeing those types of businesses coming forward as well.
Thus far, the council has not stated that they have any desire to open up to what we basically call the retail, non-storefront, delivery-only businesses, but you are right, that is happening as we speak, in our community. But at least the last time, which admittedly has been a little while now, the council had absolutely no desire for that. But we can float that up again when this project ultimately, if you approve tonight, goes to council to see if there's any change in that. But I probably would be betting against it right now. But I understand that where the Planning Commission has stated on that particular topic in the past. So we can float that up there gently and see if anything has changed.
Well, and if I may, Chair, add on, if there's companies not located in the city that are doing business in the city, it may be worth having a check on business licensure requirements, and if they're conducting sales here in the city, and I don't know if there's a requirement there or not, but no, but if they're clearly advertising, I don't know if that's something the city wants to look at or not, but
I think
it may
what
be
Commissioner
worthwhile.
Liebig is referring to, there's at least one billboard out there on the freeway.
Yes.
That's for a delivery company that is definitely, I would assume, delivering somewhere here in town. And it's sort of like, I guess, the Postmates of cannabis in a way.
Counselor?
I suggest, Commissioner Liebig, that if this is an item that the commission wants to discuss more, that it be agendized at a future meeting for a more robust discussion.
Separate from this one, yes.
Separate from this one, since it's not agendized
Yes, that was more of the
tonight.
concept of other projects coming forward, but thank you. And thank you for bringing that. So with that, I don't hear any additions or modifications to this item, so I would be looking for a motion.
I move to approve staff recommendation for item 2.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Austin, seconded by Commissioner Sternfels. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Unanimously approved. Thank you so
Right.
much.
Any interested party may appeal the decision of the Planning Commission in this matter to the City Council by filing a written appeal with the city clerk within 15 days of tonight's action, and as always, that appeal must be accompanied by the appropriate filing fee.
Okay. Is there any informal discussion this evening?
I've got some. I'd like to put a couple of requests. So one thing that we've indicated is a little bit of information on the status and, I guess, performance of the use permits that we've approved for cannabis projects. Candidly, since we started this, which I think has been 2 years. So that's one item. Also following up on the policy, the 2019 policy and management priorities for the city. A brief report back on that, but in particular, I'm personally really interested in some of the river crossings updates. I'm sure that planning commissioners are as well. So, there's 3 bridges in particular that I'm thinking of. And last but certainly not least, at a future commission meeting and possibly our next one, we may have some Girl Scouts here, so prepare yourselves.
I am stocked up with cookies already. Thanks, Ms. Austin. So- Okay, any other informal discussion? Okay, with that, that's the meeting. Thank you.